Today we are looking at social models and the European Union internal market. The EU internal market, previously known as the common market or the single market, is a trading area made up of the EU's 28 member states. The internal market is a zone in which the four factors of production, namely goods, services, people and capital, are allowed to move freely between member states without restriction. It is, quite simply, the largest trading bloc existing in the world today. The internal market was not created by harmonizing the regulatory rules existing in each of the member states. Instead, under the new approach, it was put in place through the application of a policy of mutual recognition applied in the context of an agreed set of basic harmonized standards. So what is the new approach? Under the new approach, the Union authorities use a mixture of harmonization and mutual recognition to create the internal market. The system can be broken up into a number of stages. First, the Union will adopt a directive harmonizing those regulatory rules it considers to be vital for the protection of the market. Under the new approach, this is referred to as the harmonization of essential requirements. Second, once this basic pan-European regulatory standard which applies to all member states is in place, the principle of mutual recognition applies to all other member state regulatory rules that have not been harmonized. Then, regulatory control as regards goods and services originating in one member state and sold in another will be exercised by the country of origin, also referred to as the home member state, i.e., the state in which the goods or services are produced. Finally, the rules putting in place the harmonized standards are adopted by way of a qualified majority vote, so that individual states are not able to use a power of veto. The application of the new approach in place of harmonization is considered by some commentators to open the EU backdoor to neoliberal integration, leading to excessive infiltration by the pro-liberal common law regulatory system. Of course, member states remain free to require, should they wish, that products manufactured in their own states meet higher standards than those established by the applicable EU law. However, such rules, referred to as gold plating, cannot be applied to goods or services coming from other member states. These goods or services can only be required to meet the basic harmonized standards set out in the applicable EU law. Consequently, states that gold plate their own regulatory rules only serve to handicap their own industry and render their products and services uncompetitive. Let's take the example of the Bolkestein Directive. The adoption of the Bolkestein Directive has, for example, served to open up the internal market to competition in services, leading to an overall reduction in prices and an overall improvement in European GDP, gross domestic product. However, it has also been considered to promote the phenomenon of social dumping and to have had a negative effect on civil law member states such as France, which has either chosen not to or has simply been unable to adapt its regulatory structure to better compete with pro-business regulatory systems in other member states. Indeed, member states that have based their system on protection and the application of the precautionary principle suffer from what they perceive as an over-liberalization of the European market. To the contrary, common law countries which tend to prioritize opportunity over precaution have tended to do better out of such competition. What happens when the new approach is not applied? However, in some areas, such as taxation policy, qualified majority voting does not apply, and so it is not possible to adopt basic harmonizing rules by way of directive, and thus it is not possible to implement the new approach. As a result, there has been little or no harmonization of tax rules. Consequently, each member state is free to adopt its own tax policy, and the result has been tax competition between member states. This has led to an overall lowering of the corporation tax rate in EU member states, in a phenomenon called a race to the bottom, as they seek to attract businesses to their territory so as to provide employment for their citizens. Of course, too much competition can be negative, and the result has been that some member states effectively charge companies no corporate tax at all. This in turn has led to an increase in state debt as state revenues decline and politicians are forced to fund their social programs with borrowed money. Thus, the creation of the internal market, when it promotes competition in sensitive areas such as tax policy or workers' rights, has been the source of some controversy. However, in other areas, such as the free movement of goods, it has been very successful and has allowed European Union businesses to benefit from a giant market of over 500 million citizens. We hope you enjoyed this discussion of social models and the European internal market.